I hope that you are Filipino. I want you to be Filipino because I need your input. I need to become enlightened. I have such joy in making these videos because I know I'm an ignorant American. I can only know so much until the rest of the world chimes in and tells me more. I made a video called My Heritage. Does some Filipino people have no Spanish DNA? Because I always assumed that Filipino people were part Spanish, just like I am, because my mother's grandparents came from Mexico. Therefore, I am Spanish. My heritage DNA shows that I'm like 31% Iberian, which because of the Mexican side, that has to be Spanish in my mind, right? So I assumed, well, if Filipinos have Spanish last names, surely they're part Spanish. And now, as people have been responding to that, most people who are Filipino are saying no, they took a DNA test and they're not actually Spanish. So that's interesting, fascinating. I learned something. I can only learn when people teach me in the comments, because remember, to a certain degree, by default, I'm going to be an ignorant American, especially to things about Europe and Philippines. It's a bit lost on me. So someone who goes by the name of Tell Truth left this comment, and there's what they said. I want to know, do you agree with it? And if so, teach me more about it. Quote, the Philippines was never completely colonized like Latin America. That is why Filipinos look Asian and nothing else. The Spanish only came to the Philippines to set up trade with China and the rest of Asia. Then they left. No language, no food, no mixed race people, no architecture, nada, nothing. Just a bunch of deeply confused Asians thinking they are white, end quote. It's a very good point made there about how Latin America completely changed by Spain's intervention, right? Undeniably. And I think that's part of the perspective that a lot of Americans have, because we border America and so many of us have Mexican ancestors. It's easy to assume that, oh, it's kind of the same way in the Philippines. The Philippines is like the Mexico of Asia. You know, I think without a lot of us thinking about it, that's kind of what we assume. So I always assumed that Filipino people were ethnically part Spanish. I assumed that they maybe spoke a decent amount of Spanish. I assumed those things just because, I don't know, I never thought about it beyond that. I don't have a reason to think about it. All I know is I grew up around Filipino people in Alabama, if that sounds weird, but I did. Friendly people, fun to be around, but I never asked them those questions. All I know is it's a cool person. That's all I need to know. I had friends that were Chinese growing up. I didn't ask them questions. I knew, oh yeah, your mom's Chinese, your dad's German. Okay, cool. That was it. My friend Jonathan, that was the case. His dad, last name grew up. He was German. His dad was German, and his mom was Chinese. And you could tell by looking at him, he was definitely Asian. And when I would go to his house, his mom introduced me to egg rolls. I would have never otherwise wanted an egg roll, but then I got addicted to egg rolls because his mom made them for me. So I was able to appreciate those things, but I didn't interview them. I didn't ask questions. They didn't sit me down. His mom didn't say, here's all the things you should know about where I came from in China, whatever. So that's why I say all that, because I want you to understand, by default, I'm going to be ignorant on so many things about the rest of the world. Now, short of me leaving America behind and just traveling the world and learning about it, this is the easy way to do it. If I can learn from you, then I can make more videos about it and we can all learn from it. So please, 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 please be Filipino. I need you to be Filipino. And if you're a Filipino, then yeah, will you speak more about this? What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree with that person when they said that the Filipinos are Asian, but they're confused thinking they're white? How do you feel about that comment? Do you think there's truth in that? And if so, please tell me more about why that is. Because I know that on Parts Unknown, one of my favorite shows with Anthony Bourdain on Netflix, the episode he does on the Philippines, that's like the whole point of the episode. He's talking about how Americanized the Philippines are, like what a big deal Christmas is, and like all of our music, all of our American music, how many cover bands they have that cover American songs. So, I mean, for the comment right there, I know it said Asian people who think they're white, but I think what we're seeing in translation is American culture is kind of the epitome of white culture to a certain degree. How do you feel about that? If you're Filipino, do you feel that culturally you're white? Do you feel that by default part of being a Filipino is having part of this American culture that you've adopted, even though it was Spain who were the ones who, swung by the Philippines and did all that stuff? How do you feel? I hope that you see I'm so confused. It's just nothing but question marks. And I'm so eager to learn. And I will remain in the dark until Filipino people leave comments, or even someone who's not Filipino that can talk more about this and help me understand, are Filipino people culturally white to a certain degree, especially more so than other Asian nations? Will you please help me out and make me a more intelligent person?